Do I think there are WMD laboratories in Ukraine? Yes. And it's mostly because the source that said it tended to be good. And then also there's a weird pattern that it takes you time. It takes you a long time of seeing us invade country after country and the claims we make about them, and then a wide variety of events then surrounding them. One of the things about the Middle East that also is related to the whole Ukrainian Nazi thing and this and that and the other, and I've always wondered if I brought this up, is the popularity of fascism. I actually had to explain this to somebody in relationship to the idea of why does America have rights and that no other nation, like nobody in Europe, has a thing called rights, the way we think of them, that they are inalienable. They have liberties, the Roman system of libertas, that you are handed what you are allowed to do from power, where we hand power to some group of people because we are free, and that all we are doing is providing somebody a little bit of a few tools of controlling those who break rules that the kind of the group makes. And those rules can be changed because we are free. So, every individual has inalienable rights, and those are a set of rules that can never be broken because they're inalienable and are intrinsic to every individual. This is not the way Europe thinks of it. Europe does not operate on the system of Christian metaphysics in this way. This is a very Protestant Christian metaphysics kind of thing when it comes to individual rights in the United States. Such an idea could not exist in a Taoist state. Such an idea could not exist in a Neo-Confucian or Confucian state. Even Japan basically put aside certain ideas of group identity to copy our system of inalienable rights. It's just that they are also very, very likely to have group identity. And they also average really high intelligence. So that's also why the Constitution works so well for them, because they have the same Constitution as us for the most part. The same structure. So I started to get into this is why abortion is so okay in Europe and among people who like Western Europe and all of that, because they don't have inalienable rights. There's always a reason you can kill children in Europe, and it's because they embraced eugenics and euthanizing their handicapped during the 20s and 30s when they were beginning their experiment with the concept of the modern nation state, to the point like the Swedish were so very good at eliminating the mentally handicapped during the 1920s and 30s. So I started to get into how that's why in the United States we ended up with this system of sanitariums. This is why in America you can't kill the insane for the same reason you can't have abortions. They both have inalienable rights. The insane are insane and worthless. You should be able to kill them, right? No, they have rights. So that's the whole thing. That's like the whole thing that makes us so different than everybody else. That you don't have this very naturally logical fascist outcome. Just act. Summarily execute. This is why we don't execute Antifa summarily. We should execute Marxists summarily or exile them to like the Aleutian Islands. We don't, because they have rights. And like good Christians, we believe one day they might change. Fascism was very popular because it gives you very few choices on how to handle social problems. This is why a lot of people will not be honest about the history of it, because the history of fascism involves Jews. That Jews were fine with fascism until it turned on them as a group. And in their own country, in Israel, Jews are fine with fascism. There was a fascist party in Israel that existed, and people just don't want to talk about it. It's a very uncomfortable subject for people to discuss when the Israelis themselves had a fascist party. And it's because almost everyone on the planet at some point flirted with the idea when the government could just do. Why would you have people who are a problem when you could just eliminate them? Well, that didn't work in America. That's why it was so widely opposed by normal Americans. They didn't like it because they didn't like this idea because, well, people have rights. And it's also because Americans tend to be moderate. And that's why they're farmers. Farmers and people who do such kind of labor, people who earn their living and don't live in a welfare state, will not tend towards such types of governmental systems. People who earn their money believe that everybody has an opportunity and has a right to do things, and you have to incentivize them, and also it's a mentality, it's an actual personality. This is why one of the things that's really tragic about what's happening in our country right now is the rise of the liberal fascist. And because liberals don't get, fascism is a thing that came from the modernist period and from technically, therefore, the left. It is collectivizing people in a club of violent persuasion and, is that a Vespa? No. Violent persuasion and coercion. So, and this really showed with the COVID thing, that so many of the shit libs were like, well, no, all you got to do is make them. All you have to do is make them do it. And that was the mentality that popped up from the liberals the minute they got the opportunity, because they are the kind of people who are into fascism, and fascism isn't racist at its basis. Fascism is collective, but it collectivizes everybody toward basically group action rather than any kind of group cultural identity. That's the big difference. This is why the National Socialism of Germany was based around race. And a big part of it was because we inherited moderate German farmers. You couldn't get German farmers in Germany to get violent unless you had a very specific movement. And even then, you couldn't get them to do it. There was a 20% hold on the voting public when voting was new to people. So there's just some thoughts I started to have about like what people misinterpreting the way that governments are set up and the idea of rights and all that. All right, later.